Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am the Divine One and I'm bringing you yet another assortment. To the new subscribers, welcome, and to the OGs, welcome back. Today, I'll be peeling back the layers of Donald Trump's latest attempt to roll back a campaign promise. Maybe you heard him say a time or two or 1,000 that he's going to lower the cost of groceries. Cost of apples are going to go down. The cost of bacon and eggs is going to go down. You know, he had this previous obsession for all of 3 months with grocery prices. But for all of you spade players, this should sound familiar to you. He's reneging because he's a renegger. He said he had 10 books, but he had one impossible looking ass. But let's be real, this isn't about bacon or eggs. This is about weaponizing white grievance to distract from failed policies from his previous administration to the disastrous policies he's proposing for his second term, and the unchecked incompetence he just gets to have for whatever reason. It's because he's yet another mediocre white male building upward. As per usual, nothing else to see here. Moving right along. I know how poor white people love to other themselves too, but you are a part of the marginalized as well. So we're going to unpack why his promises to fix the economy don't align with reality, how his rhetoric fuels division, and the larger implication for marginalized community, including for white people. Get ready to dive deep because this isn't just political theater, it's a masterclass in manipulation. Let's go.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' 3 biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money. And we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper.
It'll also bring your grocery bill way down. I have more complaints on grocery. The word grocery, it's sort of simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does. And I have more complaints about that bacon and things going up double, triple, quadruple. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. I'm going to take them back with me. Bacon is through the roof. They're all through the roof. The milk, everything is bad. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to bring prices way down, and we'll get it done fast.
Now, Trump tells Time magazine that while he wants to make groceries cheaper, it's, quote, hard to bring things down once they're up. You know, it's very hard.
Donald Trump is now admitting that he won't be able to lower grocery prices after running his entire campaign on lowering grocery prices.
All right, let's see what you got.
They said, quote, yet already Donald Trump is moving the goalposts on some of his pledges, like lowering the price of groceries. He said, quote, it's hard to bring these things down once they're up. You know, it's very hard.
And then what did he say right after that?
MAGA got played.
What did he say right after that quote? I don't think that was the end of it, right?
Trump ran his entire campaign on lowering grocery prices. He never told us how he was going to do it.
Yes, he did.
Just that somehow, magically,
Wingardium Leviosa,
he was going to be able to. And now even he himself is basically saying, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, except he actually says this right afterwards. After he says, you know, it's very hard, he says, but I think that they will. I think that energy is going to bring them down. I think a better supply chain is going to bring them down. You know, the supply chain is still broken. It's broken.
If you supported Donald Trump based on the idea that he was going to somehow be able to lower your prices, understand that he lied to your face.
Okay, I'm done. I have a freaking headache after listening to that. The truth is, he's always said how he's going to try and lower grocery prices. And it wasn't just grocery prices. It's inflation. He's going to try and help a lot of prices go down by working on energy independence, right? We're dependent on so many other things, and energy is kind of expensive if we're getting it from other countries. He's trying to make it better, make it more accessible through ourselves, through America, and make it more streamlined. So that way things can go down. That way your supply chain won't cost as much to drive from one place to the next. It won't cost as much to house these fruits, vegetables, whatever groceries or whatever product you're trying to sell. It's going to be cheaper to hold them, to move them, to sell them. And so because of that, they're probably going to go down. Now, is this going to happen? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see.
President Trump with an important message. You got to hear what he's saying. Check this out. Share and repost.
Under crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States of America, the price of food has surged nearly 39%. When you go to the grocery store, you're spending $150, $200, even $250 or more, and you can't even believe how little food you're getting or buying, comparing it to 3 years ago when I was president. The cost of basics like eggs and chicken and steak is way up, and it's getting worse and worse with each passing day and month. Every time you go to the grocery store and pay these brutal prices, just remember, this is crooked Joe Biden's inflation, and there's never been an inflation like it. It's the worst in 72 years, but I think it's much longer than that. Under my leadership, we had no inflation. It was virtually zero. Then Crooked Joe came along, and you had inflation at the highest level in 52 years. Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats printed trillions and trillions of dollars and wasted it on the Green New Scam. And that's what it is. It's the Green New Scam. It's a disaster. And taxpayer-funded benefits for hordes of illegal aliens. We're paying so much for illegal aliens, but we're not taking care of our soldiers, our veterans. We're not taking care of our people. And that includes the elderly. Now you are paying the price in your grocery bill for all of Joe Biden's waste and plunder. We've never had anything like this. He's the worst president in the history of our country, and he's not taking care of our people. He probably doesn't know that because I'm not sure he knows anything, but he's not taking care of our people. He looted the Treasury to enrich his political allies, and now you have to pinch pennies in your own shopping cart to cover the cost. And you look at it on a weekly basis, how much more it is. It just keeps going up and up. It's a disgrace, but I will fix it, and I will fix it fast. I will end Joe Biden's inflation nightmare once and for all, and we will quickly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. We will drill, baby, drill. We will get energy prices down to a level that we haven't seen in 4 years, and then everything else will follow. You're going to be very happy again. You're going to be very rich again, and that's the way we want it to be. Thank you very much.
It's true. People can't afford anything. And just not long ago when he was in office, we were able to afford everything. Whether we were going to the grocery store or paying our rent or paying our mortgage or our property taxes or our electric bills, gas, you name it, it was not as bad as it is now, and it is just completely out of control. These politicians have been screwing us over for a long time, including recently with the $60 billion to Ukraine, which 70% of Americans disapproved of, and it was done anyway. I would have much rather them just told us straight to our faces they don't care what we think, versus going behind our backs, acting like they do care, and just doing it. This is what we're dealing with. This is why we need President Trump back in office, if you want the cost of living to go back down to what it was.
So Donald Trump just exposed how much of a liar he is during today's stunt of a press conference at the New York Stock Exchange. So first, Donald Trump admitted that he may not be able to bring down grocery prices and said it's going to be very hard for him to reduce costs, even though he promised on the campaign trail that he would lower grocery prices. Then he said he's going to give corporations and Wall Street another tax cut, reducing their tax rate from 21% to 15%, even though he promised on the campaign trail to lower taxes for all Americans. Basically, Donald Trump lied to working Americans, said he was going to lower their grocery prices and lower their taxes, but it turns out he's just going to give more tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations who rip working class Americans off every single day here in America, which is what I said he was going to do every day for the past year. Oh well.
Donald Trump just told Time magazine it's too hard to bring the prices of groceries down.
I thought it was his campaign promise he was going to bring the prices
down. Get over it!
He
did say that, but then he said in an interview recently that it's hard to bring the prices down once they're already
He then
up.
said
He can't make any promises, but he still thinks they'll come
But
down.
he made a promise saying...
Were you not listening? There's only so much he can do! Tariffs will ruin supply chains. However, he did say a better supply chain and energy prices should
The
bring
energy
them down.
prices are going to bring the groceries down.
Yes, that's what he said! You do not believe him!
Number one, that doesn't make any sense. And number two, what energy? The energy Canada is threatening to withdraw because of his tariffs?
Stop taking Trump literally and out of context. I still believe Donald Trump will be able to get the groceries
How can
down.
you possibly believe the price of groceries are going to come down, especially with the introduction of his
You're not
tariffs?
listening! If Donald Trump said the prices of groceries will come down, then the prices of groceries will come down! What's not to understand?
What's not to understand? Tariffs are going to raise the price of everything.
What? No, they're not going to do that. After Trump raises tariffs, we're going to buy American products for cheaper. They'll make Mexico pay for the border wall.
I understand your faith and your
You
belief.
better.
But just saying words and saying things will happen doesn't make them happen. We need actionability behind these words.
Time magazine recognizes his action and ability. He was named Person of the Year. Guess he's not as bad as everybody
Do you
says
even
he
know
is.
why Time magazine chooses people as Person of the Year?
Isn't it based off the merits of their character and good deeds and contributions to society?
No, it's the person that had the greatest
Donald
impact
Trump.
in general among Americans.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
And Donald Trump only does good, so that's why he was chosen as Person of the Year. No other president has made such an achievement in their lives.
It's tradition for presidents to be...
There's too late. Tariffs 2025.
Do you look anything up before talking?
Make more videos on Luigi. Trump's gonna save America.
I think my biggest frustration with living as a human being in today's society, aside from the perpetual depression that is being a Chicago Bears fan, and I seriously struggle with this on a day-to-day basis, like grasping and overcoming it. It makes me want to be on the receiving end of an if I get over, you know what I mean? So and it really started in like 2016, but it ramped up when the pandemic hit. There's a good chunk of people in this country, roughly 77 million or so, that like when it comes to things that are just objectively true, objectively correct, better way of doing things, you know, could apply to a lot of stuff here. They just say no, and they just deny it. Like, I mean, you could be watching them try to open a can of soup with their bare hands, right? Watching them try to open a can of soup, they're struggling. And you could try to hand them a can opener and be like, hey, here's a can opener. It was made for this. It makes this a lot easier. Here, just use it. And they would look you straight in the eye and be like, can opener? I don't need that woke shit. Wait, I don't need... What? You're weak, dude. What? Stop being woke. Like, or you could be... Like, they could have diabetes. And a doctor would be like, hey, you have diabetes. Here's some insulin. Because if you don't have it, you'll die because you have diabetes. And, like, they would look at the doctor in the eye and be like, insulin? 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 Kind of sounds like Biden, don't you think, Doc? What kind of healthcare am I being ripped off here for, sir? Go back to Canada. I don't need your woke insulin. Like, I'm exaggerating, but I'm kind of not at the same time, right? Like, the innate trust that I have had, and I thought all human beings in our society really had, for people that have been in their profession for, like, decades, right? You know, when people study the economy, when they study economics for decades, and they say that, hey, doing this thing is bad, it's actually, like, never been good. And it doesn't do good things. And then, like, people are just like, no, you're wrong. Nope. Fake news, dude. Nope. Like, this is the kind of stuff, man, that I, like, it really ramped up after the pandemic. And I, like, on a day-to-day basis, I just struggle to understand how some people live. Like,
Ha ha, you stupid bitches thought he was gonna bring down the price of bread, eggs, and other groceries? You stupid bitches fucked around and you're gonna find out. Ha ha. And just for that, I hope the eggs, bread, and other groceries go sky high. Welcome to 4 years of the greatest con show in American history.
So today we have people saying Trump lied to us. Trump said he's going to bring grocery prices down, but in an interview he said that, you know, once the prices are high, it's very hard to bring them down. You know, it's very hard to change price once it's high. He's just being honest. I mean, Kamala or Biden would gaslight you and just lie and say, well, yeah, we're going to get them down. Trump is transparent and honest, okay? You might not like what he says, but he'll say whatever he has to say. Just like when he said with Project 2025 that he never read it. He said, I never read it because when I get asked by you people about Project 2025, that I can honestly say that I have no idea. I've never read it. You know, he just wants to be honest when he's speaking. But one thing that he is going to do, and I'm very confident it's going to happen soon, within a year or two, gas prices are going to go down, baby. We're going to have a big change soon. Trump supporters, hit that follow button. We'll see you later on live.
He's still eating. The leopards, they not missing a meal. The leopards are, they crunching and munching. The leopards are going, I almost passed the leopard the other day. Num, 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 num. That's all I heard. They was just feasting. They're still at the buffet of MAGA regrets. Okay, the people that left around, you know what else? They really did think that they were special, that they were somehow absolved, that they were somehow exempt from the leopards. And the leopard said, no, we're going to start with your faces first. Okay, we're going to get so full that we can't deal with the people who did know how to act right and have some basic common sense and did the true research. Okay, so those people we can't go after because they sit on a very high moral hill, and you're right here down here with us. In fact, we have to scoop down and get you because you're so far in the gutter. But we get into that face, baby. That's what the leopard said. We are crunching and munching from 2025, and they said, thank God that black women have finally got it in their minds to let people fight their own battles because these people don't know how to fight, and that's just going to be more food for us. Okay, we're going to munch, num, 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 num. That's what we're doing in 2025 going forward. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the Republicans' 3-month-long monologue on grocery prices, bacon, egg, and gas, you name it. He's been ranting, yet where are the hearings on actionable policies? Instead of meaningful solutions, we see proposals like tariffs on imported goods and mass deportations of undocumented workers, policies that economists warn could further increase grocery prices. Tariffs raise production costs, which are inevitably passed on to the consumer. Deportations create agricultural labor shortages, driving up food costs. So, is this about addressing inflation or pandering to his base? Because the Republican Congress, never mind all of the infighting, never mind the 3,000 votes we have to have for a Speaker of the House, never mind those issues, never mind the fact that instead of discussing cost of living issues, instead of discussing gas prices, instead of discussing the cost of bacon and eggs, we spend hearing after hearing being shown pictures by Marjorie Taylor Greene of Hunter Biden's penis. We'll say penis, okay? Despite the rhetoric, Trump's economic strategies, they lack specifics. According to his campaign, he plans to improve supply chains and reduce energy costs. But here's the truth. Such promises are hollow when paired with policies that contradict those goals. It's almost as if he's priming his base for failure, subtly signaling, hey, prices won't drop, but it's not my fault. It seems like after this election, the only thing that's going to be eating is the leopards. The leopards are going to still be crunching and munching. Well, into this term, it'll be the only thing that's crunching and munching. It's the leopards. Y'all going to be starving unless you're going to be picking your own avocados and lettuce. And looking at these backs, okay? I know you're not eating no lettuce or spinach, okay? So we're going to stop it right there. At this point, I don't even think Donald Trump had a concept of a plan. I don't even think he could spell the word plan. It looks like he's just winging it, okay? The only thing that he was concerned about was staying out of jail. Well, he's done that successfully. Meanwhile, the policies that he's proposing doesn't propose anything about putting more money into your pocket or savings at the cash register or reduction in cost of living. The only thing he's been talking about as of lately is that he may not be able to get the prices down because once they go up, it's hard for them to come down. Yet another indication that he don't know. He doesn't know anything about economies because when supply is high and demand is low, they're going to need to do something to attract you, the consumer, to come and purchase some of that supply, is to reduce prices. But what is he proposing now after that revelation there? He's proposing more tax cuts, y'all. And those tax cuts aren't connected to lowering prices or increasing production or increasing hiring or increasing wages. But maybe within their, well, it seems like their daily rant, maybe the Morning Joe show, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, maybe they can fit that into their itinerary to discuss why his policies, it reeks of ignorance, competence, white male privilege as it relates to how supply and demand or the economy works. Okay, here's a good case in point, the Tesla brand decline, okay? A great example of how economic fundamentals function or don't. Tesla, their lots at their gigaplants are full, overflowing with unsold vehicles still wrapped in the original plastic, untouched. The original plastic is in mint condition. The car is collecting dust, and you can see the cars from the International Space Station. Unlike those Tesla vehicles will be moving right along. Why? Demand has plummeted, and the brand, the Tesla brand, was damaged from Elon Musk's antics. When demand disappears, prices follow, just like Tesla cars collecting dust, okay? Meanwhile, Americans are supposedly struggling with egg prices, yet obesity rates suggest some of us aren't missing any meals, baby. The contradiction couldn't be starker. And to be honest with you, this election was about white grievance personified, and that personification came in the form of Donald Trump. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the orange idiot in the room. Donald Trump has become the embodiment of white grievance. He is the avatar of a movement fixated on victimhood, convinced that minorities are the reasons white Americans can't get ahead in a system designed for white people to get ahead, and they still manage to fail. But that's neither here nor there. This is a grievance politics made flesh, yet media outlets have failed to call out this transparent play. Trump openly embraces white nationalism, and the media lets him. Barack Obama, in contrast, had to be flawless. Kamala Harris, she needed her own sister soldier moment, according to Morning Joe, just to meet their impossible standards. Trump, he gets a pass. Why? Because he validates their biases. and tax cuts. Immigration has always been the racist dog whistle. Trump's baits didn't vote for lower prices. They certainly didn't take into mind Obamacare, which quite a few of them are realizing is the same as the Affordable Care Act. But I digress. They voted for ethnic cleansing on a policy level. The deportations, anti-immigration rhetoric, the anti-Muslim rhetoric, and white nationalist undertones weren't bugs in this system. They were features. Yet the irony is glaring. Much of our food and supply depends on immigrant labor. Mexico, the second largest supplier of U.S. fruits and vegetables, is integral to our supply chain. Alienating this labor pool harms everyone, but logic was never the cornerstone of MAGA ideology. Other policies, and let's not forget the white women who voted for Trump despite his misogyny. These same women will bear the brunt of his anti-abortion policies. Imagine this, your daughter in a public restroom, unconscious, with a coat hanger hanging out of her hooch as her only access to reproductive health care. That's a dystopia you voted for. Let's be clear, the women back in Trump are complicit in their own subjugation. Okay, no one can come out of this saying that they did not know. Absolutely not. Speaking of hypocrisy, remember the outrage over gas prices under Joe Biden? Never mind that those gas prices went up due to the amateurish, shameful, botched, bungled, careless, disastrous, inept, incompetent, mangled, negligent, substandard, shameful COVID-19 response from the first Trump administration. I don't understand how no one remembered that during the election, but that's neither here nor there. Conservatives rallied against $4 gas, yet Hawaii has been paying double that for years without uproar. Today, gas prices have fallen below $3, and that's the national average. Worse afraid, the selective outrage is deafening. Similarly, conservatives rail against welfare, yet the red states they dominate consistently top the charts for federal aid. Arkansas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma, poverty-stricken, just like Mississippi, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina. All of those states mentioned have crumbling infrastructure, educational systems that are in the gutter, a crime percentage that is at or higher than Illinois. You know, that's a conservative favorite to talk about crime in urban areas. Urban equals black. And infectious diseases are on the rise in those states, specifically HIV, AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia. But we can only always focus on one particular area of Atlanta, Georgia, because of the black populace there. But I digress. These are poverty-stricken states with Republican leadership. Not just Republican leadership, but long-term Republican leadership. And they rely on liberal states like California and New York and Illinois to subsidize their existence. And let's not overlook Brett Favre, since we're talking about welfare, who misappropriated millions meant for welfare programs to fund a volleyball game. Where's the accountability? Why isn't Merrick Garland? Why didn't he prosecute him? And the governor of Mississippi at the time, okay? It's a double standard, especially when it comes to white men. The root of the decline of the United States is centered around white male incompetence. This country's decline can be traced directly to incompetent white male leadership propped up by white grievance politics. From George W. Bush's economic disasters to Trump's chaotic tenure, the first time, the pattern is clear. After Bush's mismanagement, Barack Obama worked tirelessly to clean up his mess, delivering economic growth and reducing deficits. Hell, we can go back to George Herbert Walker Bush, George W.'s father, after his tenuous 4-year reign of inflation and stagnation. In comes Bill Clinton for 8 years with an economic boom to the point where we no longer had a deficit. We had a balanced budget with a surplus. And how do we get there? Yeah, by closing on military bases that we didn't need. Not cuts to Social Security, not cuts to education, and no tax cuts for wealthy millionaires and billionaires. So we know what works, we know what doesn't work. And why do we keep returning back to the things that don't work? Is to prop up the white male ego and this notion, this propaganda that white men, conservative white men, are infallible. But back to the topic at hand. Trump inherited from Obama that momentum, but squandered it with reckless tax cuts and authoritarian impulses. And I'm nothing unless we can talk about the media's role in enabling Trump. Hell, in enabling incompetent white males. I just can't include Trump. We're going to have to include Mitch McConnell. We would have to include Speaker Mike Johnson. They're nothing unless they're changing Speaker of the House for whatever reason. But the media shares the blame for normalizing Trump's authoritarianism. Networks like Fox News have spent years stoking division, celebrating white grievance, and vilifying marginalized communities. Their hypocrisy is staggering. Relentless attacks on Black victims like Trayvon Martin juxtaposed with lionizing killers who target liberals and people of color. George Zimmerman, like Kyle Rittenhouse, and now Daniel Penny, who was just acquitted by a judge in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely. So much for equal justice under the law. Billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump, and now Elon Musk are constantly glorified, are constantly deified, shielded, and protected in the media, in the courts, in the political class. Sidebar. And this is why Republicans have had a hard-on for DEI programs and woke agenda, because that gets Black people and people of color. See what I did there? I'm still separating it. Why is that important? Because when decisions are being made, you can't single out these individuals if they're in the room. And of course, we're going to have some zealots that want to believe in the American exceptionalism, that they have some type of moral clarity. They could never get away with doing that. They would never be able to give something to white people and not give it to other groups. They've done it in the past, sweetie. They've done it after World War II to the Black veterans that were exempt, barred from being able to collect military benefits. They did it in the 70s with welfare, with food stamp programs and child assistance programs. They did it during that time period. Yes, a Black woman did take to the Supreme Court the man in the home rule, but at the state level, they were still discriminating against Black women with children who were receiving welfare benefits. If they had a man in the home, then that man's income had to be calculated as far as the eligibility for the benefit. And in most southern states, that specifically impacted Black women primarily. But I digress. But here's the question. So what now? Accountability? Liberals must remain on the code. Okay, we can't let up until we dismantle the system enabling this cycle of greed, racism, and incompetence. I mean, let's be honest here. This election was never about the cost of eggs, the price of bacon, immigrants. It certainly wasn't about gas prices. It had everything to do with white grievance. I mean, 2 months ago, we literally had TikTok videos of white people talking about how they hate to see Black people doing better than them. And why is it always a focus on Black people? Because this country only sees things in Black and white. White and other. Everybody else. White and everybody else. And the double standards that are perpetuated even at the political level between Republicans, which is a majority white party, and the liberals, the Democrats, which is but is marketed in the media as being a more inclusive party. Translation: Black people and non-Black people have a little bit more pull than they ever would in the Republican Party. And it is for that reason and that reason alone that the Republican Party has been able to get away with the things they've been able to get away with for the last 40 years. And why the double standards, the hypocrisy, it's just repetitious at this point. It repeats itself. The cycle continues to repeat itself. And that should be the apparatus operandi for the liberal and Democratic Party, is to break the cycle. Whether it's boycotting brands like Tesla or Walmart, or holding media outlets financially accountable by removing our viewership or our subscriptionships, the fastest way to impactful change is you have to go after the money. You have to stop subscribing to the New York Times and the Washington Post. You have to stop watching certain YouTube channels. You have to stop watching certain network channels. Instead of getting that Amazon Prime wish list for someone, maybe we go shopping somewhere else. But until we get some discipline within ourselves as Democrats, as liberals, the cycle continues, and we couldn't imagine we would get anything worse than George W. Bush and in walks Donald Trump saying, "Hold my orange glow spray tank." And here we are in real time. Donald Trump's already backtracking, backpedaling, reneging, because he's a renigger, on the simple campaign promise of the reduction of food costs. And the media goes radio silent, and they wonder why they are losing viewership. Well, it looks like our time is up. I thank you for making the time to go through it to the end with me. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and thank you.